Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Firefighters Chalkboard. I'm your host, Uncle Wayne, and episode 20. Uh, Not a big number for a podcast, but a big number for me. Number 20 means we're steady pushing forward, still getting some good guests on, good conversations. And tonight, our guest is Cody Clark. Uh, and give you a little bit of Cody's background. He is one of my old students. So, one of the things we said we were going to do was have students on just like we do instructors. So that way we can get into the mind of the student. And Cody's been graduated for a little while, and we're going to pick his brain. We're going to find out what kind of instructors people in his time are looking for, what kind of education they're looking for, stuff like that. We're going to have a really good time. So, Cody, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about yourself?
Well, hello world. My name's Cody Clark.
How
I'm
you
a no gozaimasu.
It's a little private
um,
joke, guys.
yeah, true local. Lived in Myrtle Beach my entire life. So to be able to serve this community where I grew up, and the people that I still keep in contact with that grew up with me. It's an honor, really. I'm 31. I got two kids, a 6-year-old girl, and in a couple days, 2 days, he'll be 1 years old, 1 year old boy. Been married for about 9 years, and just been chugging along here on the Grand Strand. It's really interesting to see how everything's kind of developed. I used to work a job where I traveled, and every time I'd come back, I'd be gone for about 6 months, come back, and something that I knew, you know, was there is gone, and something new is there. So it's been interesting to see how everything's changed, and just looking forward to being able to serve the community I've grown up in.
That's good. That's something, it's not really common. It's not that common anymore to have locals actually working with us. I mean, we're starting to get more, but it's good. We'll give you a little bit of history lesson. Cody grew up around a studio. So he, his dad is like worldwide famous around where we're from. I grew up
Yes.
listening. I grew up listening to Cody's dad on the radio, and so it was kind of neat whenever he introduced himself when we first started class, and he was talking about his family and everything, and it was kind of neat. I'd listened to his dad for I don't know how many years, and then I got Cody, in my class. But let's take a second because you said you used to work another job where you were gone for 6 months at a time, and a lot of people, even that are local that work with us and everything else, they don't know what that job is. So why don't you tell everybody what you used to do before you decided you want to be a fireman?
Yeah, so believe it or not, I used to be a professional baseball umpire. Um, I worked for minor league, and then was umbrellaed under Major League Baseball the last 3 years of my career. Did that for 10 years. I'd be gone from, um, you know, spring training on through, late September. Um, didn't really have any vacation or anything factored in there. So I'd be gone pretty much the entire, duration from spring training to the end of the regular season. Um, Enjoyed it. It got tougher, towards the end once you add a family in, and it puts strains on areas of your marriage, and being a dad and everything, and even just personal development. But yeah, it was really cool. Got to meet a lot of cool people. Got to travel everywhere in the country, and see a lot of different places, and basically have a lot of experiences that people wouldn't normally get, and so I don't take it for granted. I will say though, it is nice being home and being able to be present as a dad and as a husband. Um, and that time helped me develop, and figure out, who I was and what was really important to me. So, um, I'm not bitter or anything with baseball. Like I said, it offered a lot of unique opportunities, but um, it's just like anything. You get a peek behind the curtain, and you see the guy turning the knobs and pushing all the buttons, and it kind of loses its luster. So, um, it was a lot of fun stories. A lot of cool people I met. I got a lot of lifelong friends that were in the game with me, and I still umpire college baseball, so I'm still able to stay active and do that. Um, but it's nice to be able to have a career now where I'm not under the gun, all the time as far as oh, I don't know if this is going to work out or not. This is something that I'm really glad to be a part of. So. Um, my mom sometimes, wishes I was still doing it, but she's a big baseball fan, so I can't blame her.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things you said. Um, coming to the fire service was giving you stability,
Hmm.
giving you a good schedule, giving you time to be home more, be a dad. And there's probably a lot of guys that are like, I don't know if I'd turn down being an umpire, but you put your family first and stuff, and I applaud you for that. And I learned a lot of that about you when we first started. So let's talk about rookie school real quick.
Okay.
Let's go back memory lane about a year and a half, right? Pretty
Yeah.
close about a year and a half.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, well, your son's fixing to be one, so you actually
Hmm.
finished. Was about almost finished with recruit school when he was born,
Hmm.
and so let's talk about the process of school. What did challenges, fun times, things like that. Just give us the rundown from a student's aspect of what was the challenges for recruit school, the rewards in recruit school, things like that.
Well, to be honest with you, um, you know, since I got into baseball when I was 19. I'd had a lot of life experiences and a lot of, meeting a lot of famous people, with my dad being, in the entertainment industry. So, um, kind of jumping into like new territory wasn't really that foreign for me. Um, However, from graduating high school, and then my entire early, adult life was all I knew was baseball. My dad wasn't much of a, blue collar guy. Um, and so, I was kind of jumping into this head first, just brand new, hit and reset at, 30, 31 years old. Um, so for me, it was all about my mindset. And no matter what, like, hand you were dealt, because I mean, we had everybody ranging from 18 years old up to, somewhere in the 40s, if I remember right. You could have a lot of predetermined notions, and you just kind of have the right mindset to basically work with what you got. And if you really want to be all in on this, take advantage of every opportunity. I really enjoy helping out at the Recruit Academy as much as I can, because I see some younger students, and I kind of take kind of a mentor, I don't know, mentality. Like, I tell them straight up, I look, hey, I'm still brand spanking new. I've got no skin in the game. I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend, um, that I'm some senior guy, because I'm not. But the biggest thing that I can tell them is it's all about your mindset and what you make of this. If you're just going to try to go and get boxes checked off, I mean, it's really going to do you a disservice, and then ultimately your coworkers and your community a disservice. So starting out recruit school was, I didn't really know what to expect. What I liked about it was the expectations were set from, you know, the onboarding process, sitting in the hiring panel, and not really knowing who was who as far as, where they stood in the recruit staff. You just got to kind of go in with a clean slate and work your butt off from day one. So that's what I really tried to do. I tried to take advantage of every second that I had there, because like you guys have told us, you can make unlimited, unrepeatable mistakes. And that's what I tell people, whether they're in my class or whether they're new students. This is where you can do it. Don't let the first time that you're, you know, pulling a hand line, or working on certain techniques beyond the fire ground, or the first time that you're doing, I don't know, dropping a Nigel or something on the EMT side. Don't let that be out in the streets, because now is when the rubber hits the road.
Yep.
So also, understanding that you can only absorb so much. Try not to do information overload. I try to pick, and I still do this now. I try to pick 1 to 3 things, depending on how heavy of a workload it is, every shift. And then at the Recruit Academy, every day that we were out there, especially the last 5 weeks of just open skills, I said, I tried to pick 1 to 3 things to really just one rep after another, after another, after another, because we're not going to get that opportunity again. Um, so it was a fun experience, and for those that are still out on the streets in our class, we still joke about a lot of the stupid stuff that we did, and laugh about it and kind of bust each other's chops for it. But um, it's definitely an experience I'll never forget. I mean, it's just like when I got into baseball. You went to the umpire academy. Um, same kind of thing. You make memories, you make friends, but more importantly, you use that time, because it's only a set amount of time before you do it live. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of fun. And I try to make, me. I try to have a good time. So not be dead serious all the time, but pick your spots. So.
So let's be real, good and bad. Let's talk about the
Hmm.
cadre. Um, did did the cadre embrace you, or like your classmates and stuff? I mean, as because I'm really trying to get in that student mindset.
Hmm.
You graduated, you've had a little bit of time in the streets, you've been able to absorb more stuff. You're in a really you're in a really busy house,
Hmm.
and so you get exposed to a lot of stuff. But looking back, did you said the expectations were set,
Hmm.
and you know how did that what was that like? Because I mean that was something completely different than what you were used to. You know.
Um, I like I said, my mindset with things are, number one, you got to respect time,
Hmm.
um, and you can't teach time. Where a lot of the phrases, because believe it or not, the baseball world, as far as the hierarchy goes, as far as seniority and stuff goes, there was, I mean, identical parallels, which is why I felt like I would thrive in a profession like this, because as long as you got a serving mentality, you understand you're the low guy. Um, because now so many people they feel entitled to everything, and that's just not the case. Like, it needs to be earned. Um, so, as far as getting into it, I mean, I basically said, look, what's their expectations of me? What tasks need to be done? And while we're on, let's just say we were in, I don't know, the section of RIT, for example.
Hmm.
Um, you know, only like focus on that while it is in front of you. That's what we're harping on. Get down to a T these things, and then once we move on to the next section, then lock in on that. Don't try to you know jump back 2 steps whenever, and then worry about what's coming next. And it's like, no, take the time, what's going on in front of you, to focus on that, and
Stay in
then
the lane.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And just and go from there. Because, my class was, and I mean, the class that's currently going on is like this. And I mean, as far as the size of the recruit classes, they're being split. So, my class, the side that I was on, I started on the fire side and then ended on the EMT side. And all we would hear from the
Hmm.
EMT students was, oh my gosh, it's, so much, like so much information. And even though in the back of my mind, it's like, hey, that's coming, hopefully you graduate. Um, I still try to focus on what we were focusing on right then and there.
Yeah.
Um, so, it just kind of depended on everybody's individual mentality. If they were still hung up on failures they had with the previous section, I felt I could see, and I mean, I'm sure you guys could too, see a hindrance in their performance at the current section because they were still, kind of,
Still dwelling in the past. Yeah.
yeah. And so, I just thought, I wanted to represent myself well. It's a basically an apprenticeship. It's an audition. It's a um, you're still trying to earn a job, and your reputation from day one is going to precede you no matter what happens.
Yeah. Like,
Um,
um, kind of like they were saying, every day's a job interview. Every time you come to work, every day's a job interview because somebody is looking at you. They're trying to see how you perform, how you carry yourself. You know, uh, because you were out there when you were talking about those extra 5 weeks worth of skills we were doing, and those companies were coming out working. Those guys are like the scouts just in baseball. They're looking at who they want to try to snag up and get in their firehouse. And
100%.
yeah. So what about the team effort? Because one of the first things that's always put on the board is the I that is in team.
Hmm.
And a lot of people, there's no I in team. Sure, there is. Where's the I in team at, Cody?
Sitting in the a-hole.
In the middle of the a hole. So the
Yep.
biggest thing is don't be an a hole. Stay with the team.
100%.
Um, but yeah, I mean that's one of the first things we I put on the board. I just write out the word team and show them where an I is, and that's the
Hmm.
only time they'll see an I in team. And because it takes everybody. It takes we have the grouping companies. It takes the companies. It takes all the students together, and one doesn't fail. Everybody works together. But another thing you were talking about the struggles of the struggles during drills and our study sessions and stuff like that, and they're constant struggles. I mean, because it's a lot of material to take in, and you said earlier, unlimited, unrepeatable mistakes. Well, another big thing I like to push is I write the word fail on the board. And, with us being into emergency services and fire department and stuff, we all love our acronyms. And if you break it down, fail means first attempt in learning. You got to be willing to fail in order to learn. If you're not willing to step up and take a chance at failing, how are you going to learn? I mean,
Hmm.
and that's hard for a lot of times for us to preach that message for, say, to the students that are getting started because everybody's so scared to fail. And it's hard to make them understand that if you don't try and take the chance of failing, you're going to learn from it. If you do, you'll learn from your mistakes.
Right.
And that's part of the process. We don't expect you to do it right every time. We expect you to put in a lot of effort, you know, a lot of grit and a lot of heart, but we don't expect it to always be right. We just want you to be willing to take the chance to make a mistake and then learn from
Right.
it.
I definitely think, you know, the challenge as far as the cadre goes, because I teach, a lot of umpire camps, and, you and the rest of the cadre have had a lot of time, um, not just on the training side and working with students, but even before that, being on the streets. So, you know, once you take your experience and then you're working with brand new people, that that's such a challenge because you have such a mixed bag of different learning styles, different, the way that people receive it, even the
Mm-hmm.
different generations on, even if it's constructive criticism, we all know there's always bound to be one that's offended, but some way, some shape, form. And so that challenge is definitely really tough. So it takes, a special kind of person to be a mentor, to be an instructor, um, because your goal ultimately is to have them succeed. Because when they succeed, now you have. But to be able to, in such a condensed amount of time, um, you know, be able to accommodate all different learning styles, that's a lot tougher than people think. And like when we teach umpire camps, whether it's a week long camp, whether it's a 3 day weekend camp, it's so tough to try to get all of everything that to you is just like you could fire off in your sleep. That's taken this person, 2 weeks worth of recruit school to figure out, topic A, and you're expecting to be all the way down at the bottom of the alphabet.
Yeah.
Um, so that's definitely and something I see more and more when I teach, like camps and stuff is you got to meet people where they're at. You got to be understanding, and as long as they give you that same effort and respect back, it makes that relationship and that delivery of that material a little bit easier. Um, but it's definitely a challenge. So I mean, hats off to you, and hats off. I mean, everybody who teaches, even regular teachers. I mean, my wife wanted to go to school originally to be a teacher, and I was like, sure about that, And needless to say, she kind of made a little left turn to a different career path. So I said, thank goodness. So
I like what you were talking about respect. And as an instructor, that's probably one of the biggest things that we hurdle with. Now, I see it two different ways. The old saying is, you've got to earn respect. Respect is earned, not given.
mhm,
Now, I see it on two different sides. I would say a lot of times with our job in the street, yes, you've got to earn it because you got to prove yourself in the street. Now, in my learning environment at my academies and stuff, I go about it a different way. I tell everybody I give you 100% of my respect because you took the time, the effort, energy to sign up to do what I feel is the most noble profession in the world. You're going to take care of your community. What better job is that? But I'm going to give you 100% of my respect. You don't have to earn it. It's here because I don't know anything about you. No different than you don't know anything about me. And if I want you to respect me, when have I had time to earn it when I first walk in the door? That badge on my chest
right,
and the shirt or whatever, that doesn't make it where I earn respect. It's a piece of metal.
right,
So we can have common ground, respect each other, in a learning atmosphere, and tell them, you got it there. You've got nothing to gain, but you got everything to lose.
right,
And when you start losing respect, you got to work really hard to get it back. That's something we talk about a lot of times. And you were talking about building a bridge, and we were talking about that earlier today. Because one of the hardest things to do is have common ground, especially when you have so many different backgrounds, mindsets, the way people were raised, you know, different regions they come from. And so I tell them, to have common ground, we need to build a bridge. But in order to build a bridge, you got to start on each side of the ditch, right? The recruits are going to be on one side, the instructors are on the other, and both sides are hammering nails to finish the bridge. So in order for
right,
us to have a bridge, it takes the same amount of effort on both sides.
right,
For if you want me to give you 100%, you got to give me 100%. That way we meet in the middle. And I find that an easy way to make it where people can kind of understand the ideas of it. I mean, because that's really what we're doing. Because Cody Clark, When I first met Cody, I didn't know anything about Cody, other than he said he was an umpire in baseball and told me who his dad was. And I'm like, okay, that's neat. Um, but I didn't know anything about Cody. Cody didn't know anything about me. But investing in him as an instructor, I helped build that bridge where he started understanding me. I started understanding him. That way I could present the material better to where he could understand it, and relate to it, and thrive with it. And that's the ultimate goal. Like you said earlier, the goal of an instructor is to have his students be successful. Um, even though he said I scared him to death the first day.
Look, I've had a lot of people yell like a lot of different things right in my face, and I was just like, you know what, this guy might take the cake. So
And I didn't yell. That's the thing. Don't let the guy fool you. I didn't yell. Um, I'm not much of a yeller. Years ago I might have been, but not anymore. I've kind of slowed out a little bit. Um, it comes out every now and then, but not much. But let's talk about the team concept. What did you learn about teamwork and stuff when you were in the academy?
well, I mean, it I try to think of things. I learn through analogies and parables, and I try to look at, again, there were so many similarities in the dynamics of the umpiring world,
Mm-hmm.
that I came from, and the way this is. If we're, you know, there's all the stereotypes and the jokes about, umpires, but what a lot of people don't realize is, let's say there's a call that, is questionable. We get together, nobody else has anything to overturn it, and the call stands, and later on we find out that it was the wrong call. Well, it's not the umpire that made the call that's going down. It's the entire crew that's on the field.
Yep.
And people don't realize that, and you've got the hierarchy: your crew chief, your 2 man, your 3 man, your low man, all the way down. But at the end of the day, our goal is to get the job, to do the job correctly and get the call right. The same could be said on the fire ground. When you've got your boss, and everybody's got their certain roles that they have. Um, if something happens and somebody else, whether they're more experienced, less experienced, doesn't pick up on it, at the end of the day, our whole crew, has dropped the ball in one way, shape, or form. Um, so I really tried to implement that and have a, you know, company officer, or, in the baseball world, crew chief mentality of, hey, these are my guys, this is my crew, and I'm going to try to lead from the back and be able to help them, um, in whatever way I can. But it's a give and take. If you've got somebody who's looking to serve their crew in that aspect, you also have to be receptive on the other end if you're not in that role,
Yep.
and be able to, you know, get your chops busted just like I would. Um, but also, understand that if it's coming from the right place and it's to help make you better, therefore making us better as an entire crew, or a company like we had it in the academy, um, then, that's the ultimate goal. Now, I'm going to try to be as, respectful, as I can to be able to deliver that message. But if you're not receptive to that, maybe you're receptive to a different learning style. Maybe, you know, you're the kind of person who thinks that nothing you ever do is wrong. Then is when you have to start making some adjustments in either your delivery, um, or, just how you're going to get through. Because some people, you know, unfortunately, they don't want to hear anything that you have to say, whether they've got more time, coming from a different department, whether they're older than you are. To me, yes, you've got to respect time, but if you're doing the wrong things for 20 years,
There you go.
I mean, it doesn't, I mean, I appreciate it and thank you for your service. Um, but, at the end of the day, I'm trying to make sure that we're doing the right things, to succeed as a company. And, the way I also look at it too is like, you know, there might be a way to to pull a hand line that a senior fireman, that I may have never even learned before, seen before, and that helps me tremendously. But as a low guy, as a new guy, um, it's like, well, there's nothing I'm going to teach him or tell him. Well, maybe administratively, there's something, a new platform that the department rolls out, that I've got experience with because I was exposed to it in the academy, and this is new to him. So, again, there's always ways that we can kind of look out for each other and strengthen each other. And as long as you're respectful of me and I am to you, you know, that's all. That's everything. So,
All right. So finish the academy.
mhm.
What is your advice for people whenever right after they graduate? We got the new students coming out. They graduate the academy, trying to get their feet wet, getting used to shift work, everything else, because you go from Monday through Friday, rolling into a shift schedule, which is a big change. It's a big change for you, big change for, life at home, everything else. Kind of, you have to reset everything. But what kind of advice can you give them as far as, how long do you, in your opinion, how long do you think they need to wait before they start looking at branching out and getting that further education? Because I mean, they need to take some time to learn the house, learn the culture in the house, stuff like that. But I feel like if newer people stay stagnant too long, they'll stay stagnant. So I mean, so what are your thoughts on that?
um, First and foremost, no matter what you do, whether it's in the job, whether it's in life, have a serving mentality. I, will review certain topics, over and over again. Um, I will ask some of the same questions. I'm trying not to, but, sometimes just to brush up on it. All of that, everything that you do is going to come in time with experience.
Mm-hmm.
How often are you going to run a fire, versus understanding the culture in the house that is going to apply no matter where you go. If I get moved to a different station for the day, their rig might be set up slightly differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the culture and the respect aspect of it should remain the same. So number one, always look to serve. Um, I set my alarm for 6:30, 6:45 to make sure that they got a hot pot of coffee on whenever they wake up, and so I can empty the dishwasher. Um, because of all the things that um, senior guys, officers have to deal with, I don't even have to think about for the most part because that's their responsibility in their role, their duty. So the least I can do is, chores, is take out the trash, is make sure that when they wake up after having to deal with whatever stuff that I screwed up as a new guy, they got a hot, pot of coffee on. Um, I mean, it's the same thing in baseball. The crew chief always had to deal with phone calls from the league, from supervisors, from general managers, everything that the low guy did not have to worry about. The least he could do is, keep the car clean, I don't know, just whatever ways that he could serve the crew, because there's a lot of things that he doesn't have to worry about. Um, so as long as you look to serve, you know, your guys should be looking to serve you, in as far as knowledge, questions you may have. And then, you know, everybody's family dynamics are different. Everybody's backgrounds are different. So, um, it's kind of like I tell people early in the academy, not that I want to scare them off or anything, but understand what you're getting into. Um, I wanted to go somewhere busy, and I was very fortunate I landed where I landed, um, because, that's just more experience you're going to get. That's just, a better, I don't know if it's guys depend on the culture that you land on. Guys like to train versus maybe somewhere where that's not as prevalent. Just understand what you might see, what you are signing up for, because when you take that oath, it's that's it. Once you've graduated and you're out on the street, there's no more. I didn't realize it was going to be. You tell me that building's on fire and there's someone in there. I have to go in. It's like, yeah, what'd you think this was? So
Yeah.
you got to be real. And if you're, I won't say that, but I feel like there were, always a handful of where it's like, I don't know if you really understand what you signed up for. Um, because the ones that do, that take that seriously, it shows. It shows, whether you work a shift with them, whether you were in the academy with them. And those are the people that I want to work alongside because I want to have that same mentality. So um,
Iron
it's a,
sharpens
it's
iron.
100%,
Yeah.
100%, and it's not for everybody, unfortunately. But those that stick with it, I mean, it is very rewarding. So um, be careful what you wish for, but if you're all in for it, then give it 150%. So
All right. Well, let's break into it because right after you got out of recruit school, it didn't take you very long to start jumping in classes, starting to
mhm.
trying to get your other stuff done. So after since you were graduated, when you were in recruit school, you didn't have a choice on who your instructors were.
Mhm.
You kind of got the luck of the draw. Who was teaching today is who is teaching today. And instructors are a lot different in the way they teach. You can have, four different instructors, and that's four different teaching styles. And it
Mhm.
can be rough for students a lot of times trying to pick up on one style versus another. And, some instructors won't look at a lesson plan.
Mhm.
They just, they shoot from the hip based off of experience and the stuff they've done over the years and kind of do a front bumper type lecture, and some guys read word for word out of the lesson plan. It's luck of the draw on
Mhm.
who it is a lot of times. But since since you're out of recruit school, you've got a choice now. You can kind of source out what kind of instructor you who you want, whatever. So, what kind of instructor? This will help out some of the listeners, but
Mhm.
what are you looking for? What kind of instructor do you want? So now that you've got a choice on where you go and what classes and things like that.
I like somebody who is personable. Um, I don't particularly care for the word for word, death by PowerPoint. However, if you sign up for a class and instructor A is instructing, you have to understand that that's who is instructing. So again, I could sit there and, oh, well, this is going to stink. I'm not going to learn anything and have a pessimistic, kind of attitude about it. Or I can work with what I have. I can say, I voluntarily signed up for this class because I wanted to learn topic A. So I'm going to have to make this, take advantage of what's here. Um, Now, it does definitely help when you do have the instructors that are able to give real world uh, relation to whatever the topic is, because I definitely think, a lot of people are visual learners, and a lot of people are
Mhm.
trying to, um,
Do you think?
con-
Okay, hate to cut you off, Cody, but do you think they're visual learners because based on our younger generation being stimulated so much visually? I mean, I know
I think so.
you're a little older than the normal recruit, per se,
Hmm.
but
But I look good.
I think yeah, you do look good for your age. But something we've been looking at a lot is how do we, because people the COVID era kids,
Hmm.
finishing high school, college, stuff like that during the COVID era. So how do we how do we compete with what they're used to? If they're used to iPads, laptops, everything else, so as instructors, how do we compete with it? We've got to be that visually stimulating person, and PowerPoint's not going to be doing it. So we've got to, I had a guy on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and his name was Rob Ramirez, and he made a statement that I've probably used 4 times already, and it was, I can put a picture of my dog up on a PowerPoint and be the only PowerPoint slide there is for an hour. And if I know what I'm talking about and I cover the material, that's it, because the instructor is the presentation, not what's on the PowerPoint.
Hmm.
So how do we compete with that visual stimulation they're so used to? We've got to be bouncing around. We can't just click, click, on the PowerPoint. It's not going to work.
Right. Um, you know, number one is attention span. Understanding that we are, and it's cool because I was kind of on the cusp of like both the generation pre and the generation after. Um, so we have to understand that we're a generation of stimulation. Um, if you just watch socially, we either got something in our ear, we lock our phone, put it down, and then two
You,
seconds later,
you,
pick it right back up. Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Don't tell
Um,
me you're picking on me for being old.
oh, I mean, look, the thing in your ear versus the thing in mine are two totally different. I'm not gonna lie. You answered a phone call on a lunch break one time, and I said, "Is he has he lost it? Like, is this class stressing him out that bad?" You were talking to a wall. I didn't realize you linked it to your hearing aids, um, but we just have to remember like the visual. There's always that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of visual screen, whatever, and then a little bit of human interaction, and also, the generation is that's used to everything laid out step by step. Um, Understanding, like myself, I didn't come from a blue collar um, family per se. There's a lot of things that I've had to learn really late in life that to somebody who grew up whose dad was a carpenter or a plumber, they're like, oh yeah, I've known this my entire life. You don't know what this is? It's like, unfortunately, no,
So
I
what you're
don't.
trying to say is a lot of the younger people didn't hold a flashlight for their dad, right?
Yeah, they don't know what a 10 millimeter socket is, nor did they have it thrown at them whenever you handed them the 11. But, um, so as an instructor, you have to remember that, and you have to try to tailor everything to um, this, like I said earlier, mixed bag of different experiences and different backgrounds. And, um, now everything, if somebody's got a question, they're either asking Google, asking AI, looking up a YouTube video. And some things have their benefits. Some things, make people lazy because they think they can find a quick answer. And, you know, I'm very old school when it comes to certain things, for the sake of, well, what happens when an EMP, wipes out everybody's, you know, technology or whatever, and we're back to, an apocalyptic state or something. It's like you got to learn how to do some of these things without relying on technology. Now, technology makes things convenient, but
Mm-hmm.
you still got to be able to revert back to, because if they could build the pyramids with whatever they had back then, I mean, if they had what we had now, we'd have, I don't know what else we'd have, but um, so it's really tough as an instructor. And I would definitely imagine something like the fire service, it would be a huge challenge for you.
But the biggest thing is you can use, with you being an instructor in the world of baseball, teaching umpires, stuff like that, you can use that as a bridge, because no matter what, it's still dealing with people. you're still teaching people, teaching learning abilities, and I would probably be safe to say that it gave you a really good understanding of what the people in front of you at the podium were going through and what they were dealing with. Because, when you one instructor is getting slammed with 40 people, well, I mean, one person can lecture 100 without a problem. But it gets, starts getting creative when you start doing skills days.
Hmm.
But, that's where people like yourself in a class is a breath of fresh air a lot of times because you can have that informal leader inside the classroom. And you used the analogy earlier about the senior man at a firehouse. Having to worry about this, having to worry about that. The least thing you said the least thing I can do is make sure they got a hot pot of coffee. Something very simple, but it shows a sense of gratitude because that senior guy is doing things you don't have to worry about doing. And the biggest part of being an instructor, in my mind, is twofolds. There's two main jobs I have. The first job is to teach or to instruct or however you want to call it. Really think my second job is to mentor because a lot of times I've got these kids. And I say kids, I mean the last class I had a guy in his 50s, but I just say it in general. Um, but
Yeah.
it was I've got them for 30 weeks, almost pretty close to a year.
Hmm.
And if I didn't take the time to try to mentor them on some level, how far behind the eight ball are they when they finally get inside that firehouse after they graduate? I think mentorship means a lot. And yes, it's hard for an instructor to try to mentor so many students. It is, but you try to give them a little bit of, give a little bit to everybody.
Hmm.
And I know you were in the receptive roles of that. You've seen that. I mean, And but what I seen with your class, and I so vividly remember it, was you guys were mentoring each other. You were taking, you had life experiences that a lot of them didn't have, and you were stepping up and trying to mentor them and helping each other grow. You were, pushing each other, being those informal leaders, trying to make things help, and you took a lot of the work off of us. No different than what you were saying, your senior fireman does for, for the lieutenant or whatever else in the house. And
Hmm.
I think it's really important to have that informal leader because a lot of times our students, sometimes they learn better from peer support. Sometimes they can do a little better with one on one with somebody in the class instead of a one on one with the instructor. And
Hmm.
not saying the instructors can't do their job, but sometimes it's received a little easier whenever they've got another person in their class that understands it a little bit better and a classmate is breaking it down for you instead of the instructor because I think sometimes it is perception. Perception's a lot to do with anything, but they're worried about what we think of them. And I think a lot of times that's a huge factor in them asking questions, wanting, trying to engage with instructors because they're worried. What if I say something wrong? You say it wrong.
Hmm.
I teach a class that's called the Why Before the How. I wrote a book on it, covering that same information, and I don't have a problem with the why. When they ask why, I give them the answer because I found out a lot of times they want me to explain it so they can validate what's in their head because they're really scared about saying something and being told they're wrong.
Right.
They want to understand it the way I see it if I'm the one that's instructing.
And I mean, it also comes from, you know, your your ultimate motive, um, internally as an instructor. Do I want to come out here and big league everybody? Do I want them to respect me just because of the patch that I have, on my chest, or I'm in a position or a rank that, maybe they're aspiring to be. I outrank them, whatever it may be. Um, is it from an egotistical standpoint, or no matter what color shirt you got on, what, like in the baseball world, what patch you got on your shirt, how many rings you got, on your fingers. At the end of the day, if you and I were in street clothes and we were having a one-on-one conversation, that would be the way I would size somebody up. That would be the way that I would, um, because me, you can ask anybody, I'm me, and you know this, no matter who I'm around. Um, and
Same
you
Cody at
know,
Sam's is at the training center.
100%. Um, just because I don't have anything. I don't know, man. Like I could sit here and go, yeah, I had this cool, career and blah 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 blah. It's an interesting talking point, but in the big picture, everyone's like, oh, what's this player about, or what was the coolest stadium and stuff, blah blah. It's like, dude, I don't know, but I can tell you what I where I saw myself going as a person and kind of slowly becoming who I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
So, I always try to look at the bigger picture of things. And if you can do that as an instructor, yes, I want you to learn, this material, but also I care about you as a person. And that's tough to do when you got a big number of people. But to have that relationship to where there is that little bit of vulnerability to where they can let their guard down and say, look,
Mhm.
if you're uptight about this because you're worried about what I'm going to think about you, about failing, whatever, wipe that. I see the effort that you're putting forth. And
Yep.
I've been through many of these classes. I know it's not going to happen overnight. So if that's what's stressing you out, let let your guard, let those walls down, and just start to build and just get better at it. This is something that's going to take time. So, um, if you were to come into class and be like, you know, you see these bugles? Yeah, you guys are nothing, blah, 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 blah. Out the gate, people wouldn't be receptive. They'd be scared to fail. And, um, they would feel like you're unapproachable.
Hmm.
And as an instructor, that's not what I would want. Now, some people need to
And
be,
I'm a big teddy bear.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Now,
And,
you said something a minute ago, and I want to touch on it. And you said the word ego. You know, and in class we got to watch a little video. Remember, there's two videos we play in recruit school. I play enter both commencement speeches. I play one right at the beginning of school, and I play one right before graduation.
mhm,
And the first one I play is Dr. Rick Rigsby's commencement speech in California. And one of the biggest thing he says that stands out to me the most, I mean, I talk about it all the time, and it says, ego is the anesthesia that deadens the pain of stupidity. And that's something that stuck with me. I mean, when I first watched his speech years ago, that stuck. I mean, I didn't ever see myself as somebody that it was full of ego or whatever, but I mean, it really made me step back and think, and I was like, wow, that's pretty deep. And just a simple statement, it was like almost like a not a gut check, but just a way for me to police myself and how I am and who I act. You know.
yeah, it's, you know, there would be times where, I would be sitting alongside of, maybe somebody I was closer with at recruit school. Um, and we'd be watching somebody else. Maybe they have the same amount of time on the street as we do, or, whatever. And you're just watching that person, big league people, or, be sarcastic. And it's like, why are they doing that? And, I would just say, look, you could sit here and hate that person for acting the way that they're acting. You absolutely, could. But you also have to think, maybe there's some underlying reason, as to why they are the way that they are. Maybe they've been seeking approval their entire life from maybe family that wasn't present, their superiors, their friends. Maybe they were a bully because it made people think that they were cool that they're no longer friends with. So I would
Look
try to,
for validation.
yeah, they're looking for validation everywhere they go. They're looking for it. So if they can, let's just say they graduated class 52 and they're helping out with class 53, and they're sitting like, what are you looking at? Blue shirt and blah 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 blah. It's like that's the wrong the wrong way to go about it, man. And
I don't think
and
that
that's
lasts
why
very long.
no, and you know, dude, it happens more, not necessarily where we are, but like, in the baseball world, it would happen. It's like, dude, you've been on the field for a year and you're talking to this person that you're teaching at a camp like they're just completely incompetent. It's like you've got no skin in the game. Slow your roll. But I would try to get people to understand that, like, you don't know what's gone on in their life to where they think now that they have the county patch on their shirt or whatever that they're better than everybody. It's that's their own personal problems. As long as you're a good person and you're coming at things with the right heart, the right mindset for the right reasons, you can sleep well at night. That's
Hmm. Yeah.
so.
So let's talk about we graduated, got your house assignment. So let's talk about the importance of you finding a good mentor because you have your mentors in the academy. So
Hmm.
the instructors will help mentor. Sometimes it's other classmates that's got life experiences, and you gain a relationship with the instructors. And I think when you gain that relationship is a win because you can truly find out, hey, these people do care about you. They want to help you succeed, stuff like that. But when you get out in the street, you get your station assignment. How important is it for you to find that mentor, search out for that mentor so you can grow in the station? Because, like, look at you. You went to a very busy house. You guys probably average 18 plus calls a shift between all the rigs that are in the house. You probably 18 plus, especially this time of the year right now.
A hundred
Um,
percent.
I mean, but talk about you finding your mentor in the firehouse because I know you found one already.
Oh yeah. It's obviously out the gate, especially I wanted to go um, to Station One. I Number one, I wanted to be in a
Drink the
busy
Kool Aid.
house as a 31-year-old man. I tell people this all the time. As a 31-year-old man, I freaking love Kool-Aid anyways. So, I'm not afraid to admit it. 2 cups of sugar. Uh, but I wanted to go somewhere busy, not only to get the experience, but to be surrounded by um, people who have the how important training is, a good culture, and the the vacancies that I filled and whatnot. You see that plenty of places throughout the county. Um, but again, it comes down to what you're giving.
Gives you
If
ability to thrive. You
a
wanted to
hundred
be in an
percent,
environment where you could thrive. Yeah.
well, yeah, and I wanted to, when I walk in there day one, these guys don't know anything about me, and I don't know anything about them. But what I want to be clear is, I tell people this the first time that I work with them, no matter what I say. Number one, I don't get, I use a different word, but I don't get offended. So, you know, talk to me about whatever it is because it's only going to help me be better. Um, I get along with anybody. I'm not going to go tattletaling on nothing. Like at the end of the day, I get along with anybody and everybody. Um, so, but as much as you can say that or relay that, at the end of the day, your attitude towards whatever it is, your eagerness to train, your hustle, and basically, all the things, being accountable, um, but just being receptive to constructive criticism, because, they don't expect you to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's once new recruits kind of get that through their mind, I think it's going to help relieve a lot of stress to where they can start building sooner. Um,
In
because
your in your thought, did you have one person you kind of latched on for a mentor, or did the whole group kind of take you in and put you under the wing?
the
I
whole
mean,
group,
okay,
the whole group, there was one or two kind of earlier, a little sooner, because, and I completely get it. Maybe the other guys were still trying to figure me out. Maybe it's like, is this dude just putting on a show just to fit in or whatever it is? And I think, I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel now, they understand I am who I am. What you see is what you get. And, and I want that reputation to be, the one that I have in the department. I want my work to speak for me. I want to be the kind of, um, coworker that people, that I would want to work with. Now,
yeah,
am I perfect, and do I fall, short sometimes? Absolutely. Um, but you know, I try not to take things for granted. I try not to take opportunities for granted. So, but there were, um, having that mentor and that person that you can, kind of be a little bit more vulnerable with, um, and work on those things with, it definitely helps. Because again, there's really not a lot that bothers me. I've been in a lot of high pressure situations, and, but still, again, you're trying to fit in, you're trying to get, approval, um, subconsciously. So to be able to have somebody kind of be like, hey, you know, this is what it is, and, um, it definitely makes things a little bit easier to kind of ease into.
okay. So, what kind of advice have you got for somebody getting ready to come out or getting ready to hit the street? What would Cody say as him being the newer guy starting to help out the new guy?
Um, I usually have to explain what I mean by this, but ultimately it goes back to, you know, look to serve. But I tell people, be a good low man. That was one thing in the baseball world. The new guys coming in, the rookies, you were the low man. And, people thought that meant, in the traditional sense, oh, doing all the
The
the B
grunt work.
work. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. That's what I was looking for. But really, what it means, like I said, is, there are things, that you don't even have to think about, that somebody else is having to deal with, that is putting stress on them, that's putting workload on them. So the least you can do is look to serve your crew. Um, and again, that's like my number one thing. We understand you're not going to be great at pulling a hand line at first, or understand what this tool is, or how to operate this, or yada yada yada. But, you know, you can be the first one looking to do chores. You can, um, you know, scrub the toilets and all this kind of stuff, like things that doesn't take any experience, um, to do. And, I've heard stories about, guys trying to, I don't know, learning life experiences on the job. Um, the first time you do your own laundry might be in a firehouse because
Yep.
mom did your laundry. all the way up until now. So, um, as long as you're looking, to learn and to try to build your skill set, you know, hey, I can't get, I'm going to bust your chops for, whatever it is, but, just know that's coming from a place of love and just busting your chops, not to be a tool about it. But,
Yeah.
um, as long as people can like not get offended, um, in most aspects, and just, as long as the crew is, understanding and respectful in that manner, the crew cohesion definitely flows a lot easier. Um, but again, you got somebody who's poking their chest out and I'm holier than thou, and that kind of rubs people the wrong way. And it might be a facade someone's putting up. It might be how they really are. Maybe you don't get as close to that person. You don't have to. I mean, at the end of the day, we got to get through a shift together. But I also want to build that relationship and know these people more because they are your brothers and sisters. Um,
Yep.
so I mean, you spend, I think I believe it was you that that had said, you spend a third of your life with these people, and sometimes that number, actually hearing that makes you go, oh, I never thought of it like that, you know.
Hmm.
So it's true.
It's very true. Yeah. All right. So, Cody, the chalkboard's yours. Write your message, whatever you want people to hear.
Um, my message. Well, number one, we don't have, you know, I think we take for granted, the amount of time that we think that we have on this earth. And I think every single day that um, I think it's apparent that it could be gone in an instant, whether that's, in the line of duty or not. But it's something that we see day in and day out that we don't wish upon anybody. Um, from personal experience, um, my dad passed very suddenly. It was unexpected, and it kind of gave me a new perspective on things. I don't want something to be left unsaid. I want to um, let people know how much I love them, especially family, friends. Growing up, I was a single or only child, so my friends were my family. Um, and there's a lot of things that I've learned along the way, but it's just if you got something you want to say to somebody, tell them you love them, do it before it's too late, um, and always look to serve. I mean, I'll say that time and time and again. Um, as long as you got a serving mentality, whether that's on the job, whether that's in your own household, whether that's taking somebody's cart back to the return at the grocery store, um, you know, this world can be a little cleaner than when we found it. So, but as a student and a recent student, for the new classes that are coming through, take advantage of every second that you have at that academy. If you've got questions, there's no such thing as a dumb question, um, contrary to popular belief. But again, unrepeatable, yeah, unlimited, unrepeatable mistakes. That's do it while you're out there because you don't want to do it out in the streets. You think you're going to get your chops busted by Captain Jones or Cottrell or somebody, man. Wait till the guys that you got to see day in and day out start busting your chops. Um, but it's an honor. I'm continuing to take some classes and learn, and I hope that especially the new classes that are going out there don't stay stagnant too long. Don't try to rush it, but always look to put another tool in the belt and Um, and once you feel comfortable with that, like you've got something down, well, then look to move on to the next thing and expand your knowledge and skill set. And if you've got a department full of people with that kind of mentality, I mean, you're going to have a uh, very successful department.
I like that. I like that a lot. Um, the two things I would add to it, it was, and one would be take the picture. Because, time is limited, and what we are left with is memories. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times that picture is a good way to, you know, keep a memory alive. Um, Pictures are worth a lot. I would say, just like you said, tell people how you feel, be sincere, and take the picture and give the hugs. I mean, because when it's all said and done with, and you hang your hat up and decide to leave, and you're done, I mean, all you've got left is those memories.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure people know exactly how you feel about them.
And I mean, again, just, you know, don't leave anything, or leave it all out there. I mean, don't go home at the end of the day going, maybe I should have pulled this trigger, or maybe I should have done this. Um, my career in baseball, there were a lot of things that after it was over that I was like, oh, well, maybe, if I'd done this or actually tried this or whatever, maybe I'd still be in it or whatnot. And truth be told, you know, as cool as the job was in certain aspects and as many experiences as it provided, I'm 100% glad it didn't work out. Um, and that hard reset, um, as tough as it was to navigate, it was the best thing that could have happened for me. Best thing that could have happened for my family. Best thing that could have happened for my relationships with people. Um, so everything, whether you know it or not, has a purpose, has a reason, and is a blessing. You just have to make sure that your own selfishness doesn't cloud what that blessing is. Um, and I think that if we can do that, we would have a lot more of an optimistic, um, grateful point of view on things. So
Yep.
try to take advantage of it.
All right, Cody. I appreciate you being on tonight. I appreciate that glorious mustache being on tonight. I mean, it's
It's Hey, look
it's
here. I've seen a picture. I've seen pictures of yours. I mean, it's not as good, but it's pretty good.
it's non-existent, is what it is. Yeah.
Well, maybe we need to bring it back.
Nah. I don't think the missus would like that a whole lot. But
Well,
I'm so proud of you. I just want you to know that because I have not seen that the first time the whole time while you've been on screen. Those guys aren't gonna know what to think of you. They go to looking on here and don't see you throwing the one up. I mean,
well, shout out to the boys.
oh man.
Yeah, buddy.
But no, man. Thanks for being on here. I appreciate it. Glad you were here. Had a good chance to talk. Trying to give some instructors a way students kind of look at it, especially the ones that just come out not long ago. Give us an idea of what we need to be looking for that next generation of classes. That are doing professional leadership stuff or professional development. Um, Guys, I appreciate everybody for being on the show tonight. I really appreciate the support. I'm gonna go ahead and throw out a sticker. If my new book, The Why Before the How, is now published and it's available on Amazon. So if anybody wants to try to get inside the mind of Uncle Wayne, that's a good way to start. Um, keep sharing our stuff on all the social media. We greatly appreciate it. And until next week, whenever we get somebody new to come step up to the chalkboard. See you later.